All right, good evening and thank you very much for being part of the national broadcaster and welcome back from UBC News Tonight. I am Joram Ssonko and I'm here for the UBC Frontbench. Monday conversations every 8:30 p.m. weekly. We are back and this time round we have interesting conversations. Now, when you look back at your days in primary or kindergarten, one of the fastest things you learned about current affairs was your capital city. And Kampala being our capital city here in Uganda, it gives us immense pleasure to have conversations around the same. In the heart of Kampala, live from Nile Avenue is where the UBC studios are and is where we are coming to you live this evening. But in the same regard, mentioning or talking about Kampala city affairs is something that many urban dwellers have questions rotating around how some of the details within the city are managed, but also in the same spirit, many keep on asking who is responsible for what. And of course, at the end of it all, the authorities as well have so many things to work upon, but then in the same way, asking the urban dwellers or those that reside within the city to comply and help to see that the city grows, the city develops, and the same way that will see the city become world class, if so to say. But over the years, Kampala City Council and of course the entire dealings within the city have come under immense criticism, rotating around the affairs of the city. And many people are asking so many questions, especially when it does rain. But not only that, the situation of the borders. Not only that, the drainage system. Looking also into the matters of settlement within the city. That is not only the conversation we're going to be having, because there are so many other things on the good note of things, the tourism bit of things within the Kampala City Council Authority, the nightlife economy, and of course, the ever-growing bit of the city. Tonight, our focus goes on to having the conversations that matter. We are engaging the leaders and addressing concerns that you, an urban dweller within the capital of Uganda, are having. You can share those opinions as well as we get to understand what is the Ministry of Kampala City and Metropolitan Affairs doing to ensure that, one, we are heading to Vision 2040, but two, to ensure that the city is moving in the right direction of sustainable growth and development. Join me at the front bench. I have two able guests this evening who are going to be joining us in this conversation. One is the State Minister of the Ministry of Kampala City and Metropolitan Affairs, Honorable Joseph Kabuye Chofatogabye. A very good evening, Honorable. Many thanks for joining us.
Good evening to you, Ssonko, and the viewers. I'm happy that for the first time I've got a host who actually can ably introduce me clearly and well, including my baptism name. Now, Ugandans, now you've learned I'm Joseph. So Joseph is a name given for those who bring hope in the world. Because we are interested in ensuring that the whole world is in peace. The earth, the planet Earth is in peace. That's why even God entrusted us with his son so that we can make the world a better place to live in, and both on earth and in the next world that is in heaven.
All right. Pleasure having you. And I can easily tell you the Honorable is a man of many words and interesting ones at that. But with him, he has moved with the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Kampala City and Metropolitan Affairs, Monica Edimacho. Good evening, ma'am, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, moderator. Good evening, viewers.
All right. And with that, we're going to be having a conversation with which you can be part of using the hashtag UBC Frontbench. So join us at the front as we address the concerns while engaging your leaders on matters that really concern you as an urban dweller and someone who resides within the capital. This is the Frontbench. But first, let's have something that unites us all as Ugandans.
Oh, Uganda. Our future in thy hand, united, free for liberty, together we'll all
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Fellow countrymen and women, these are our ministers and permanent secretaries at the front bench, representing the various ministries and answering the questions that matter to us. Join the conversation. This is the front bench.
Well, need I say more, because this is the front bench and we are coming to you live from Kampala, and today's ministry is one that runs the affairs of the capital city and the metropolitan affairs in the same regard. And of course, when you look at the symbol of unity with our national anthem, the many concerns there, or the many details within the national anthem pretty much talk about Uganda, Uganda, the land that feeds us, the land of freedom in the same regard. Now our conversation turned to the capital city, but you can be part of this conversation joining us using the hashtag UBC Frontbench, but then also you can use the WhatsApp number that you will definitely see on the screen, 0709 602 592, and be part of this conversation. I'll run direct to the State Minister of the Ministry of Kampala City and the Metropolitan Affairs. We need to know what the long-term vision for Kampala is in terms of urban development. Honorable Joseph Chofato Kabuye, take us through that.
Thank you very much. But first of all, like you said, I want us to somehow enlarge a bit, escape. You know, when you talk of Kampala capital city, it's just a small thing like this, just a small enclave. And it's being influenced by the neighborhood. So any long-term plan and vision must bear in mind the entire greater Kampala area, which is actually, they are like twins now, they are inseparable, and they influence greatly the city, the development efforts of the city. That's why I want us a bit to open a bit. Like you said in the introduction, that now you're looking at an improved, livable, sustainable city, so that the citizens within the entire metropolitan can have a well-planned area. But if you narrow the scope into Kampala, you might fail to really elaborate and enlarge the scope of looking at what is Kampala. Because right now, it's very hard to define Kampala's boundaries. And if you say you're defining Kampala using Jinja Road, no way you can separate Chira municipality, no way you can do it with Mukono municipality. If you're using Hoima Road, Nansan and Kampala, they are just separated by a stream or a river called River Rubiji. The rest is like within. If you go Entebbe Road, really you can't even tell the thin line between Machinde Sabagabo and even Entebbe South. Generally, Kampala now is a bit sandwiched. So if you ask me any long-term vision and economic development of the city, I want us to look at the entire metropolitan, which is being influenced. Actually, the small enclave called the capital is being enclaved. But of course, everyone wants a well-planned city. Everyone wants to live in a livable city. I want to avoid the word smart city because it brings in other things, other aspects of life. But by and large, we want to have a well-planned, livable city which can spur economic growth in the region, in the whole area. The reason being, Kampala has in its form is a unique kind of a city because it is a transient city. You understand?
Yes.
It is a city located across or astride the main arteries of the region. Oima, I mean, if you talk of Oima, you're talking of DRC Congo. If you take of Bombo Road, you're talking Gulu, you're talking of South Sudan. If you're talking of Jinja Road, you're talking of Kenya. And then the other roads, you're talking of Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, and so on and so forth. So now being a transient city, you need a city which can really hold and spur the economic growth in a very kind of a boom kind of style, so that the entire area is somehow inspired and enhanced to really serve its population, but at the same time cognizant of the four aspects of life, or the two, especially the environment factor, the socio-economic growth, I mean the social kind of factors, and then of course political will come in, and that's another discussion. Don't ask me anything around, you know, in that regard, because it has another politically issues. And yeah, that is it.
Okay.
So once we have that, then we shall be able to contribute further and double our contribution to the GDP. And why I'm bringing all this, because GKMA, you can't now tell the contribution of Kampala alone and separate from the entire Greater Kampala metropolitan area in terms of GDP. Because if you look at in terms of GDP right now, we are standing to about 30 to 31%. But the question is, what area contributes to what? So you may find that the areas I'm talking about, this metropolitan kind of, you can't separate, this is the contribution for Wachiso, for Mukono, for this and this. Entirely, that's the contribution for this greater region.
Okay. And from the Undersecretary's office, we turn our attention to the State Minister mentioned something about the fact that we should not only have this conversation holding the small portion of Kampala because it goes wide. And one still wonders what are the policies that the ministry is aligning to ensure that they speak to Vision 2040, but also in the same regard, speak to urban development in the coming years.
Thank you, moderator. You realize that Kampala city itself is governed by central government. And the Kampala city being governed by central government, all activities and implementation is guided by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. And we have laws that guide us in the development of this city and the metropolitan. Like for instance, we have National Urban Policy of 2017 that supports us in ensuring that this sustainable, orderly, and spatially integrated development, not only in Kampala, but in the surrounding areas. And as a ministry, Cabinet approved a strategy that is now guiding us in ensuring that we carry out our developments in a guided manner. And this strategy is a 10-year strategy. And the strategy has focused on economic infrastructure development. It has focused on conserving and protecting environmental assets, business support to informal sector, and other economic clusters such as youth, women. And in addition to this, the ministry, with support from government of Uganda, came up with the initiative to develop master plan, that is the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Integrated Urban Development Master Plan. And this master plan is to guide development. It is developed in a manner that fiscal planning goes hand in hand with the economic development, because we have realized in the past many developments come up in a disorganized manner. So this is one of the frameworks, but it is still in draft form. We are taking it to cabinet soon, and once it is approved, it is a 25-year plan that will guide development in Kampala metropolitan area. And in addition to that, we are developing detailed plans by the different entities in the metropolitan areas. And of course, in addition to this framework, we also have the laws that govern the city. Kampala Capital City Amendment Act, we have the Local Governments Act, so, and the Public Finance Management Act. All these are the policy framework that enables us to have proper and organized development. And of course, as a ministry, we work with other MDAs to ensure that we carry out these developments.
Okay, and if you can as well help my viewer understand the mandate of this ministry.
This ministry of Kampala Capital City and Metropolitan Affairs is in office of the President.
Okay.
And it is the ministry that plays oversight role over Kampala Capital City Authority and the entities in the metropolitan area that include Wakiso, Mukono, Mpigi, and the municipalities. It is also mandated to coordinate local economic development in the region, such that the entities do not plan and in silos. So this is exactly what the ministry is doing, and physical planning in line with the Kampala Capital City Act. The ministry is expected to coordinate physical planning in this region in collaboration with the Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Lands, and other MDAs. So this is what Ministry of Kampala does.
Okay, and let me head to the State Minister. Honorable, I need to understand something, and I choose to say this because I believe even the viewer would wish to understand, because when it comes to issues to do with infrastructure development and service delivery in the city, and even the government itself, there has always been the public-private partnerships, or the PPPs. I wonder though, from the side of KCC, or from the side of the ministry, my apologies, from the side of the Ministry of Kampala City and Metropolitan Affairs, do we have plans for more public-private partnerships that will ensure more efficient and faster service delivery?
Yeah, true. Yes, that is not doubtable. Yes, but I want us also to unpack the challenges of infrastructure.
Okay.
And then we point out, actually in your introduction talked about it, and we point out what are the infrastructure areas we are looking at, and what has the ministry done, and what should KCC do. Actually, I will send you now my team of KCCA to concentrate on their small island called Kampala, but I want us to enlarge it for us.
Okay.
Now, when we look at the road infrastructure, that is to enhance mobility, transport, and so on and so forth. You know, these guys have got a lot of nomenclatures around these things, but meaning transport. So the ministry actually is coming up and is implementing programs and projects, of course, together with public sector. And actually, it's the private sector implementing on behalf of the Ministry of Government across the Greater Kampala metropolitan area to enable and park and also to enable relieve part of the pressure in those areas of transport and mobility. And as I'm speaking now, we have almost 330 kilometers planned, together with about almost 100 kilometers within the city. So if you combine both, you may find that you have close to 100 to 500 kilometers under construction now, as I'm speaking, by and large. Of course, construction means a lot, right, ranging from design, what for all of that is construction. So under that, of course, this is being done by PPPs.
Okay.
One, the private sector or the donor community brings in money. As government borrows, again it hires and contracts out private sector to help. Then the other issue, which I also want to relate to drainage, to infrastructure, is the drainage infrastructure. Now I want to pull it out. The drainage infrastructure, which again my ministry is doing, has moved some bit of a step in coming up with proper designs and structure improvement in these areas. Then we have other infrastructures which are enablers, which supports jobs and businesses and activities, like the market infrastructure, the public health infrastructures, the education and the housing infrastructure. All these, I wanted to call them infrastructures in one way or the other, because at the end of the day, you ramp them together and then help you move in that direction. So markets, the ministry is doing a good job. Housing, now that's where the problem may be. When you will look at, in terms of housing, is purely private sector taking lead. And the government only puts up policies and regulations. Then in the education sector, that kind of infrastructure is implemented. There's a lot of work being done by government, actually takes the lion's share, and then the private sector is coming in, and also the public sector, both government and the other side is doing a great job.
Honorable, there's this element of the rapid urbanization,
yes,
which has led to the issue of affordable housing, which is now a pressing concern to a number of urban dwellers. I wonder though, from the ministry's perspective, are there plans to ensure that regardless of the development, there will be room for inclusivity of all?
Yes, but I also want to have another outlook with urbanization. First of all, let's start with the bad things of urbanization, especially in the city and the entire ministry's areas of jurisdiction. It has somehow encroached on other spaces and then deprived Ugandans or city dwellers of certain facilities, including, actually, urbanization is at the cost of environment. Because of maybe the poor planning and other things, we are seeing urbanization attacking areas which wouldn't have been attacked or which would have been remained there for purposes of regulation and also somehow calming down the hunger of climate change. Because I'm seeing urbanization into swamps, wetlands, and other things. But on the other side, of course, we are not looking. That's why my secretary was telling you about the integrated urban development planning, physical planning, where we are now coming up to guide on this. Much as, of course, we have nothing to do at the moment, because sometimes when time has come, people must, you can't prevent urbanization take place, because that is the word of the day. People are increasing everything. The economy is growing. So government has to come up. Of course, we are now coming up. First of all, with the bigger picture, then detailed planning where we have, of course, exclusivity must come in. You have to come up with housing conditions which really caters for everybody, because nobody sleeps outside. Everyone wants to live in a house. That's why you have maybe, I hate to hear people who are, the words like homeless. well, in Uganda we don't have so much homeless. We have street kind of, but these are homeless people. At the end of the day, you find them sleeping. Now I can see they are sleeping here at the flyover, which was constructed for me by Uncle General Katumba. I see them there. That is really not good. But of course, government is coming up to guide on urbanization by providing critical infrastructure and utilities needed within these areas.
Okay, and Madam Under Secretary, let's talk about something about the resource mobilization for Kampala's key projects. I wonder though, because do we have strategies in place by the ministry or the government itself to ensure that we have enough resource mobilization, and in case there are some undercomings or shortcomings, call them challenges, while looking for these resources, what are those?
Thank you. Government is having a number of initiatives in enhancing both on source revenue and attracting development partners also to support development in the Kampala metropolitan area. You realize that when I talked about our Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Economic Development Strategy, one of the focuses of this strategy is to have business support to transform the informal sector. There has been a lot of informality in this region, and as such, people will not pay taxes willingly, and it has been a problem. What government is doing is to develop infrastructure that can enable ease business and local economic development. These infrastructures are making the entities, especially the entities in this region, enhance their own source revenue. Now, people are seeing development. Government, especially when you see the initiatives like under support under African Development Bank, where Kampala Capital City Authority is putting infrastructure such as the Portable Road under the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development, we're putting up road infrastructure. Collecting on-source revenue will be easy. People will willingly be able to pay ground rent, other taxes, and this will enhance local revenue. And even government is putting systems in place. When you go to Kampala Capital City Authority, revenue collection is being digitalized. You go to entities in the neighboring area of Greater Kampala, people are able to collect Mukono. Recently, with the infrastructure that we are now improving in Mukono, people are now paying their ground rent, and I am seeing initiatives towards enhancing on-source revenue. Apart from that, we talked of this strategy, we talked of the master plan and the fiscal planning going hand in hand with the economic development. These are what we use to market the city and metropolitan area, and develop bankable projects that can be supported by our partners. And of course, government has also put wealth creation initiatives. We're talking about PDM, we're talking about Emyoga. These are all intended to enhance household income, improve livelihood of the people, and this will enable us enhance our revenue as a country and increase on the GDP. Thank you.
All right. And when we do return after the break, we're going to have some look into the questions that are coming through here on WhatsApp from the number of viewers that we have this very evening. We are also streaming live on YouTube. The beauty about the fact about today's show is that it rained today morning, and at times the sight of Kampala is not one that is a good one to watch, especially when it does rain. So you cannot simply make this stuff up. When we do return, we shall be going through some of the questions here that you do have, and we'll be sharing with the guests here. Stick around. Good evening.
Fellow countrymen and women, these are our ministers and permanent secretaries at the front bench, representing the various ministries and answering the questions that matter to us. Join the conversation. This is the front bench.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome, traveler, to the adventure of a lifetime. Rare, beautiful, and precious. Embrace the unique, unforgettable, and extraordinary. Come and explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
This is the front bench.
All right, good evening, and thank you very much for being part of the front bench here on UBC. We engage the leaders as we address the concerns that matter. You can be part of the conversation using the hashtag UBC Frontbench. That is on the X app, formerly Twitter. And then for the messages on WhatsApp, you can use the number 0709 602 592. I have the State Minister of the Ministry of Kampala City and Metropolitan Affairs together with the Undersecretary of the same ministry here tonight with us in studio as we are looking into transforming Kampala into a sustainable and developed capital as we want it. But not only Kampala, by the way, but also looking into the metropolitan and also the neighboring areas. There are quite many. The Honorable Minister, the Honorable State Minister mentioned something to do with Nansana Municipality, Mukono Municipality, Kira Municipality, all of those engraved around Kampala, meaning there is always that bit of the question of how best we can be sustainable. Now, let me get into some of the questions here. I have one coming in from Ayodochi who says, how does the KCCA Act work across local governments like Wakiso, Mukono, etc., which are governed by local governments? And then the second, he asks, how shall KCCA manage this large area called metropolitan? And yet we also have some issues within just a small portion of the capital. He's asking.
Actually, I will ask the Undersecretary to elaborate more on this.
Okay.
Anyway, but the bottom line is KCCA Act doesn't work in the Greater Kampala metropolitan area.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm not here as a minister for KCCA.
You
I'm
are
here
here
as for the entire metropolitan area.
Yes.
And our mandates are very clear and stipulated. With the relationship in the metropolitan area, basically is in the areas of physical planning, infrastructure development, basically what these guys call local economic development agenda or aspects only. And anything administrative, they still report back to Ministry of Local Government.
Okay.
For us, okay, in a layman's understanding, leave alone their areas of, technical descriptions. We are dealing with connectivity, mobility, job provision, job creation, period. Only those three. We are giving you roads, we are working on drainage systems, we are working on your market spaces to provide workspaces, and then physical planning. Because you're fitting into, actually, you are the source of Kampala's problems. So we are now saying, can we develop together? Can we plan together? That's all. But when it comes, there are issues of political, relationship, management, this, what, elections, local government.
And he continues to ask, how will the ministry manage the whole
the good
metropolitan?
thing now we are saying the ministry. That's why we are now here as a ministry to oversee.
Yes.
Because had we allowed the KCCA to go there,
it will be a
disaster.
Okay.
But now the ministry does that, and the KCCA only enters just only on I think in roads, because of those those roads which are really directly connecting to in Kampala, and yet they were the sources of problems. For instance, if you look at Sentima Road,
let's just think locally now. Just help me understand.
Yes.
What does KCCA do under this ministry?
Okay, what does KCCA? No, KCCA is an agency within the ministry. Part of it.
Okay.
And actually, the ministry acts on behalf. Has delegated authority of the president to help it oversee affairs of KCCA and the entire region.
Okay.
Now, when KCCA got a specific support resources to do maybe roads, it had to look at other roads which affects it directly. And that's why we went into Sentima Road, we went into Chitezi Road, actually, that road where we were.
Because I wanted us to talk about this issue of the roads, because I have questions rotating around there, and I want us to just encompass all of them. There is a comment coming in from Waluluka David Josiah Jacko. He says, Honorable, on the issue of the 500 kilometers being worked on, does the Emperor Namere Chitezi route surface since it's Greater Kampala? He says too far. Now, not only that, there is someone here who also asked something about the issue in Makindye. This one says, where is that comment that someone was talking about the issue to do with Makindye? Yes, this one says, greetings to the minister. My question is, why the newly constructed roads lack lighting? The likes of Makindye Luwafu, this is someone from Makindye. Yes. So there is that issue of lighting, and then there is that issue of certain roads that many people feel need to be worked on, since you've said they kind of fall in the metropolitan.
Like I said, and I think now that's why it's called who? The name.
So this is Samuel who talks about the lighting.
No, even the other one, the first one. The one who is asking about too far.
David.
Now, I'm happy that the viewers have started picking. Now they are really talking about my ministry.
Okay.
When you simplify these things, people understand quickly. Now, my ministry is in charge of all those infrastructures, all roads, which connect, which have got a direct and a fast line kind of connectivity within the city, and which enhances mobility. And one of the roads is Mperere, Chitezi, that Namere, something road.
Yes.
And of course we are working on it. The first 10 kilometers up to Chiti is being worked on by the ADB facility, which is now managed under KCC as a capital city. And then the Greater Kampala, the other bigger program of now, which is domiciled in my ministry, is going to pick it from there to connect it via Namulonge, then Kawanda, and then we cross to Nansana. And then the other one also will cross to the other side of Gombe to Semto Road. Now that is now my ministry, the bigger ministry is coming. But at the same time, Ministry of Works is bringing another road. Now the 3 roads are going to meet in one place. That is Chiti. This one goes to Matuga from Kasangati. You remember that Baghdad place which have been codenamed? Then this one is coming from Mperere Chitina Mere to that same place. Then this place is another one is picking it from there to Namlonge to Kawa. Najera, that is the road I'm talking about. Then that one will just go to Matuga, then Matuga, Wakiso Buloba. Okay. But my ministry again is doing a certain road from Chiti, because Chiti is the meeting point of all the 3. From there to Namulonge, Kawanda, and then it crosses through to Nansana. Then another road is coming from Mperere, the notorious Mperere one, the notorious Chitezi road, which will go up to that point, Chiti via Namere and then Chiti. So we are working on that. And then KCC wouldn't have coordinated all those infrastructures. So they needed the ministry to have a look. Remember, if you go there, they will ask you, what are you doing here? This is local government. You're already in Wachiso. Is it Kasanga Town Council? Then other. So the ministry has to go there as a face to do all those infrastructures and to coordinate those local governments to say, please, we are here because your road affects our economic activities and transactions in the city.
Yes. And I would like to drive this question to the Undersecretary.
No, before that. Now the lighting.
Okay.
The street lights, the designs, the current designs which was given to us by means of works, actually this is being, because our project has an interministerial kind of coordination and implementation. The urban roads are designed in such a manner, that's why even the unit cost is a bit higher compared to the normal countryside roads. They should have a drainage system, should have a walkway, should have street lights, and then the main rain. So if they missed street lights there, I will ask. All I know, that road must have lights. Because you're talking of a city which must, the night economy must be enhanced.
Indeed. And this question, I would take it to the Undersecretary. This one says, hello, thanks for the program. I would like to know the issue concerning garbage management in Kampala. And this issue takes me back to just a few months back about the disaster in Chisese. That opened room for conversation.
I wish I should not even bring that one in the memories of people.
You know, that issue was, brought up a conversation on how we manage, garbage and how we manage disposal of everything that is unwanted within the city. And I wonder how the ministry is working upon this, and also if you can also throw some clarity on where we are now disposing of the garbage, because we were hearing of routes like Nkumba, Nansana. We really need to know which is the place now that is the final disposal of most of this garbage.
Thank you for that issue. One of the issues, the pillars under the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Economic Development Strategy is the focus to conserve and protect environmental assets. And one of the issues under that pillar is to ensure that we have comprehensive waste management program. Before the collapse of Chitezi, it does not mean government did not have initiatives towards addressing issues of waste management. The ministry came up with a comprehensive strategy and had been engaging partners to see how the issue of garbage that has been a big challenge facing this region can be addressed. And we presented concept before the program working group of sustainable urbanization and housing. And in brief, this concept is looking at waste at its source, where it is generated, and then seeing whether the collection centers could be closer to the people, because a lot of waste is disposed in a manner that is unacceptable. And then to see from the collection center if they can be transported to the transfer stations where waste can be reduced. And this looked at the entire metropolitan. And then smaller waste can be taken to, that cannot be recycled, can be taken, recycled and reused, can be taken to a dump site. And the government was in the process of doing this before the unfortunate incidents in Chitezi happened. But that has not halted government processes. There have been several engagements of stakeholders across board to see how we can have a lasting solution to this garbage situation. And I am very sure it will be handled. People should just be patient as government works hard to do this.
Okay, and let me head to the State Minister here. Shaban from Entebbe Chitubulu mentioned something here. He says Kampala needs to be on the map of the well-established capital cities. But this can only happen unless borders are out of the city. The city must be arranged in order as Nairobi City because it does look, it's so mixed up. Honorable, the issue of the borders comes up again. It has been here for quite some time.
Yes.
Many people were suggesting borders should be removed from the city. Borders formed associations. We saw borders registering on their stages, having reflector jackets, all of this. Let's talk about that issue of the borders.
Actually, first of all, is Ugandans, you let us also have a human face. Yes, we are looking for a livable city. We are looking for that world-class city. But I hate cosmetics.
Okay.
Yes, much of our brothers.
What do you mean by cosmetics in this regard?
You know, it's not good to have a pretense where you pretend on a small thing like a square mile. Oh, for us we are like this, yes. But when you go behind everything, behind this wall, you may see other things. So that's what is happening in most of the cities in Africa here. But of course, we are streamlining public transport systems, including Boda. We still have issues and challenges. And of course, we need also sanity in terms of, first of all, the Boda riders, the Boda managers, owners, and so on. Because those boys you see on the streets, 98% don't even own those motorcycles and are owned by you and me who actually put on ties. All we do, we deploy and we want money, which is okay. But of course, you have to work, you have to look for money or whatever in a sustainable manner. And also not injuring other people, other pedestrians and other users of the same road and all other facilities. So what we started with was in response to 2018-19 National Security Council resolutions. That the one who said, please register, put on reflector jackets, let's have numbers, let's have QR codes to identify us, let's observe. So we started it. Of course, we met with some bit of populism and politicking and so on. But I thank God, time has really healed everything. Now the demand, the urge to streamline is not only coming from we, the political leaders, is now coming from the riders themselves. And actually, let me take even this opportunity that I think on Wednesday we shall have a media kind of an open launch, a launch, where now I need people to put on uniforms. You saw even the killings which took place on this lady's, the deputy road mayor's brother. People are using
Just
those motorcycles, just last week or this week, yes. People are using those motorcycles to commit crime. But if these motorcycles were being tracked, like now, I'm encouraging them to start putting on these digitalized number plates. So this week I may now turn back the other chaff and I become hard. You either adhere or face the law. Then after that, we can start on slowly. I know somehow, but time tell, some people will get out of it. Remember, every person you see riding a Boda cannot survive for more than 5 years or 10 years. That is, you're already riding diseases, pneumonia, what, and so on and so forth. But we will of course, we will streamline, but we need to be a bit patient somehow, somewhere. These are Ugandans who needs work. If you don't give them work, what do you want them to do? That's why we are now taking them into these socio-economic transformation programs slowly, so that they understand and they abandon this.
Okay. And Madam Undersecretary, let's look into matters public services and, of course, access to them.
On issues, you asked a very pertinent question about waste disposal.
Yes.
First of all,
earlier on.
Waste disposal starts with you and me. It's a human kind of character. All these policies you see, they are coming up with, you are putting in place, all of them will be hinged around our own personal understanding. Secondly, you asked, where do we dump? Dumping is an outdated model. World over, now people are asking, we must go into a world-class city. You can't open dumping.
The smart solutions.
Yes. Open dumping is disastrous both to human life and the environment. So what we are going to do, or what we've started doing, and not even going to do, what we are now doing, is the encouragement of the 4R, reuse, reduce, recycle, recover. That's why she was talking about collection centers, transfer stations, then to MRI station, material recovery facilities. So we are setting up material recovery facilities. Of course, this will take 6 months. So Ugandans just behave properly. Well, now, because right now we are dumping in Katikolo. We are now connecting power, because for them they have a separator. They have what we call now a waste transfer station, kind of, where you take all your garbage and then they separate it into different plastics, recyclable, then decomposable, so they live there. Now we want to pick it from there to start saying, can we turn all these plastics dumped into other useful items? Yes. Can we turn the decomposables into other useful? Yes. Like a composite fertilizers? Yes. Can we turn the glasses into soda ash and then we make new glasses? Yes. These days you can actually cycle everything. So this is what we are going to do, but we need to ask, and to be truthful here, we need 6 months. Remember, you are constructing a facility, you are importing technology, 2 months, for technology to reach here from Japan. Then installation is another month. So by March, we shall have now proper areas of disposal. And then we have already the law in place. Kampala has got an ordinance on littering. That's when we are going to evoke that law, the ordinance, clearly, and we start enforcing it. So I want to ask, first of all, Ugandans to become responsible disposers of waste. Don't even dispose waste into my drainage systems. That's why you mentioned about drainage, the rain. Then I said, please don't bring that one. Because all the floods you see in the city is partially because of the clogging of all these drainage channels, because of the irresponsible disposal of waste. That's what I wanted to actually enrich her statement.
Okay. And Madam Undersecretary, I wanted to mention something about access to public services like education and health, because the city looks like one that is expanding day in, day out. It's not even looking like it is one expanding. It's already expanding every day. The population, and when it comes to the various businesses being set up, people settling within the city, not only the city, but within the metropolitan, showing high numbers and growth everywhere. But the issue to do with health services, education services, and access to quite a number of public services has become something that is open for discussion. Do we have any programs in that regard from the ministry and the government to ensure that at least the provision of these key social services is...
Yes, it is true, you are right. The population is growing. And just a few years ago, the population of Kampala metropolitan was 4.5 million people. Now, as per the preliminary census results, it is talking of about 6.23 million people, meaning there's pressure on social services. they are initiatives of government that are intended to ensure that we cope up with this increasing population. When you see Kampala Capital City Authority had the two major facilities that were upgraded, that is Kawempe Hospital and Chirudo. They were upgraded to national referral hospitals. And the Kampala Capital City and the surrounding areas remained with the facilities like Chisenyi, Kawolo, Chisua, and Kawala. These have to be upgraded to hospital status, some of them to health center fours. And then initiatives towards creating more facilities has to be undertaken. But in addition to that, government opened up. There are non-for-profit facilities like Mengo Hospital, Rubaga, Zambia Hospital that have supported the government facilities. And then we also have hospitals that have been established by the private sector. But the standards are set by government to ensure that whatever they do in providing health care services is not outside the standards set by Ministry of Health and government. So these initiatives are there. The same with the schools. There are those USE, UPE schools that are there. But on top of that, government has allowed and created a conducive environment for private sector. But still, Ministry of Education and Sports ensures that the standards are set for the private sector to investments to ensure that the children studying in those schools have a conducive environment and the same curriculum is being used. I'll want to say that government institutions work in a coordinated manner. So once these standards are set, our work as Ministry of Kampala and Metropolitan Affairs is to ensure that Kampala Capital City Authority, the surrounding local governments implement these standards, the set standards, and oversee activities in these schools and health facilities. Okay. So that is how we function. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to be taking your parting shots because we have completely run out of time. But in the parting shots, State Minister, I would love to hear something about the slum upgrading and then the issue to do with traffic management and transport infrastructure. I'll start off with you.
On the traffic management and infrastructure.
Those in your parting shots.
Yes. Of course, I've told you we are implementing the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Urban Development Program, and then we are also implementing the KCRP project, that is the Kampala Capital City Rehabilitation Program under ADB. Here we are talking of about 500 kilometers of roads, this Chisanja. And these were the roads and infrastructure development, which was enshrined in the manifesto of NRM 2021-26. This will, of course, go along with the drainage systems, the initiation of plans for the BRT, the bus rapid transport systems, so that we improve. But of course, we still have issues of Boda that will be a bit challenging. But all that said, we want to light the whole metropolitan area with about 160,000 street lights in order to enhance the night economy. And of course, those lights come along with security cameras and other facilities which will enable us to move. Now, on the issues of slum dwelling and upgrading, of course, this is still under a very big plan. we started with improving, of course, the infrastructure there, the accessibility. We construct all services, first of all, the access roads, then we provide them with services, education, health services, and all other, security and so on. But all that said, like you said, we need a livable smart city, honestly. Slums, those are old days. We can't really have a city in the 21st century with slums. The best we can do, like the effort has started in Ssonko slum, where the Minister of, I think, Lands and Urban Development, National Housing is coming up with upgrading those. But the challenge we still have, and this is now the difference from all over most of the cities in the world, is the land tenure system. I want to save my government and also myself, because if I talk about this one, everyone will say, we must now crucify Chofa. We need to come up with a clear policy on land which can enable us do some bit of development infrastructures on that particular land. Because most of the lands, the slums are on private land, mile or institutional land systems, which really we need to evoke, and then so that we can come up with a clear grounds to enable us develop.
Okay.
Otherwise, we may face a problem.
Okay.
People may stay in the slums, not because we want, but because of the hindrance in accessibility to land, so that we can help.
Again, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Wow, it was amazing, but it's duty call.
Okay, indeed. Let me take your parting shots, Madam Under Secretary.
Thank you so much. I want to appreciate our stakeholders in the Greater Kampala metropolitan area because we have engaged them as we secure right of way and we put up infrastructure. We have seen the church, mosques, community members playing critical role in supporting these initiatives. So I urge our people to continue to support government and we work together in partnership, even the private sector, such that there's ownership and sustainability of these initiatives that are intended to remove people from poverty and such that they can have good and better livelihood. So thank you so much.
Well, of course, that does it for this week's program of The Front Bench. And of course, we shall be returning next week on Monday, same time at 8:30 p.m. My guest this evening have been the State Minister for Kampala City, and from the State Minister for the Ministry of Kampala City and Metropolitan Affairs, Honorable Kabuye Chofa Joseph, who has been with us this very evening. But together with him has been the Undersecretary of the same ministry, Madame Edomacho Monica, who has also been with us here. And of course, the conversation has been rotating around Kampala City. What a city we have before us. Many artists have come out to sing about the same city. Others have even gone ahead to name their children the same city. So you can easily see how far the city has come over the years. But of course, as one of the famous artists in the country said, I would leave you with that line for now. Till next week, good evening.
Fellow countrymen and women, these are our ministers and permanent secretaries at the front bench, representing the various ministries and answering the questions that matter to us. Join the conversation. This is the front bench. This is the front bench.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With mass carry heritage advantage,